Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Tuesday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 12th day of October, Columbus Day 2021. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. And up first, let's see what comes up here. There was a flood advisory out until 6 p.m. this evening for Ward Lake. As you can see there, picnic table getting submerged in water. But that could work. Put your waders on. It could work for a picnic there. Anyway, due to the heavy rains there, Metlakatla the last 24 hours picked up about 2 2/3 inches of rainfall. And rain keeps on falling there across the southeast coast, but should lighten up here overnight tonight and tomorrow, but won't end completely. Stay in a wet weather pattern with southwest wind flow off the Gulf for the next couple of days. Otherwise, we got winter weather advisories continuing for the eastern Alaska range and eastern interior areas for out until 10 p.m. this evening for additional snow and gusty winds kind of blowing it around, reducing visibility to a half mile at times in snow, blowing snow, and even stronger winds occurring up on the eastern Arctic coast. That resulting in a winter weather advisory for blowing snow. Winds gusting 40 to 45 miles an hour, or 35 to 45 miles an hour. The 45 mile an hour wind gust is current over towards Kaktovik, Barter Island, and over toward Prudhoe Bay, about 35 miles an hour or so. And that's out also until 10 p.m. this evening for continued blowing snow again, reducing visibilities to maybe half mile or less at times up that way. Otherwise, there are no other watches, warnings, or advisories out around the state today. And continuing on to satellite imagery, you can see a pretty strong front rolled through the southeast coast, pushing into Canada. Trough swinging in today, keeping it wet and windy. Some pretty good wind gusts. Kind of the warning yesterday hit it right in the nose with those 60 mile an hour wind gusts that were forecast. Let's see. Heidelberg had a peak wind gust 61 miles per hour. Cape Spencer, Cape Decision, and Five Finger Lighthouse all had peak wind gusts of 60 miles an hour. So that warning was right on the button with those forecast wind speeds. Juneau had 41 miles an hour and 45 miles an hour up at Haines. So pretty windy, kind of widespread wind and rain across all the southeast coast there. Juneau picking up 1.5 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. And Petersburg had over 2 inches of rain fell, and 2 1/4 inches fell at Yakutat. And moisture got far enough west to bring about 4/10 of an inch of rain to Cordova. And then it cuts off, but up to the north there, snow moving into from the Copper River Basin into the eastern interior. Northway picked up about 3 to 5 inches of snow. Delta Junction, maybe an inch or so. And snow getting as far west as Eielson Air Force Base, some flurries anyway, during the afternoon today. Not quite making it to Fairbanks yet, because some could spill in maybe into the Fairbanks area tonight and possibly as far north as Eagle. And then low pressure weakening brought areas of light snow showers to the Seward Peninsula there and across the lower Yukon River. And also another band of moisture brought light rainfall amounts to Kodiak Island, and some gusty winds 50 to 55 miles an hour from Cold Bay out to Adak with westerly winds there. But that system kind of falling to pieces there. Another band of moisture from St. Lawrence Island down to the Pribilofs. And then yet another patch of clouds bringing some precipitation into Shemya and Attu. And on the chart here, roll this through one more time, then we'll get to the today's surface map. You can see kind of elongated low pressure area. Looks a lot more impressive here on the chart than it did in the satellite imagery. But a band of rain, winds not all that strong coming in Kodiak Island, and not much precipitation with that, maybe a few tenths of an inch on the southwest side of the island. Otherwise, the southeast coast looking diminishing wind and rain, but continuing, especially as that trough rolls on through the main front now well to the east. Low pressure moving up and weakening. Interior pretty dry, snow over the eastern interior. and some gusty winds locally. A few inches of snow falling. Again, heaviest I saw was at Northway with about 3 or plus inches there. Some light snow on the Arctic coast with gusty winds there, and areas of showers spread across the Aleutians. And for tonight, light snow. It's currently snowing at Savunga and Gamble with the temperatures about 34 degrees, so wet snow. Winds gusting will come down. They were gusting 30-35 miles an hour. That'll diminish tonight, but light snow showers will continue. Showers through the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour there. And also for the Panhandle, rain, moderate rainfall amounts. Another system develops, but not quite as strong as the one that came in overnight last night and this morning. But it'll keep it wet and windy there through the night tonight, and snow showers slowly diminish over the eastern interior. And northern Cook Inlet should stay dry. A chance of showers arrives on the southern Kenai Peninsula coast, possibly. And then the outlook for tomorrow, Wednesday, looks wet again for the southeast coast. Wet and windy conditions, and showers of rain or snow across southern Alaska, depending on your elevation. Time of day, really the big indicator there of whether you'll see snow or rain, as it usually is, but stays dry over the interior. Chance of flurries along the Arctic coast, and the next system pulling into the far western Aleutian areas. And then for the day on Thursday, we've got another system yet brings light rain into the Panhandle. It looks like the heaviest wind and rain with that will stay south of the area toward the Queen Charlotte Islands and down toward Dixon Entrance with light rain also for the entire North Gulf Coast. Showers could extend as far west as the Kenai Peninsula. Isolated showers possible at Kodiak Island, maybe some breaks on the eastern part, like Kodiak State Airport. Could see some afternoon sun, light westerly flow there, but gusty winds, maybe 30 to 50 miles an hour for the eastern Aleutians out of the northwest. Gales for sure in those areas, and the western Alaska Peninsula. Windy with numerous showers of the Pribilofs, maybe mixed with snow at times. Looks like snow showers St. Lawrence Island, less wind. Dry in the central interior, chance of flurries and fog for the Arctic coast into the north slope. And another weak system spreads some light warm front type rain into the far western Aleutians. Fog, rain, drizzle, that sort of thing. But ADAC could see some sunshine. And improving also for Atka. Lows tonight, lower 40s for the southeast coast, mid-20s, the Susitna Valley, Copper River Basin, upper 20s around Kenai Soldotna near freezing Anchorage area, and upper 20s for the Kuskokwim Valley, upper 30s Kodiak Island, and 30 to 35 for Bristol Bay. And then the highs tomorrow, mid-30s for the Copper River Basin, near 40 in the Susitna Valley, 40 to 45, Kenai Peninsula, Anchorage area, Palmer, Prince William Sound, mid-40s Kodiak Island, mid-30s in the Kuskokwim Valley, and 45 to 52 for the Panhandle. And lows Thursday morning, 40 to 45 for the southeast coast. Not much diurnal range there with the cloudy, wet, windy conditions continuing. And mid-20s Copper River Basin, in the 20s for the Mananuska-Susitna Valley, upper 20s, lower 30s for Kenai Peninsula, south central Alaska, and 20s for the Kuskokwim Valley, upper 20s, lower 30s for Bristol Bay, upper 30s Kodiak Island, followed by highs on Thursday afternoon, upper 40s to lower 50s to the Panhandle, mid-30s Copper River Basin, upper 30s to near 40 south central Alaska. Homer, though, may reach 42, mid-40s Kodiak Island, lower 40s Bristol Bay. Only 34 there for, say, Sleep Mute and McGrath Nikolai. And up to the north, 5 to 15 for the Brooks Range and North Slope for your lows tonight, otherwise lower to mid-20s for the Arctic coast, and in the 20s south of the mountains there in the central interior to 28 to 32, Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island. And the highs, Wednesday afternoon, upper 20s, 25 to 30 Arctic coast, 15 to 25 Brooks Range and North Slope, and 30 to 35 south of the Brooks Range, mid-30s more or less for the Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island. And for the day for the morning Thursday, 20s again, lower 20s Arctic coast, 5 to 15 once again from the North Slope and the Brooks Range. In the 20s south of the mountains to near 30 out toward the Bering Strait and St. Lawrence Island. Highs 30 to 35, Seward Peninsula, mid-30s St. Lawrence Island, 30 to 35 through the central interior. Delta Junction may only reach 28 degrees for your high near freezing from Northway to Tok. 18 to 25 for the Brooks Range. Upper 20s, mid to upper 20s for the Arctic coast. Out to the west, lows tonight in the 30s to near 40. and highs in the lower to mid 40s. Some areas reaching 48 at AKwx and 49 at Shimia, followed by lows in the 30s, lower 30s along the coast, near 40 over the Aleutians, upper 30s Alaska Peninsula, followed by highs 40s, mid to upper 40s, and near 40 along the southwest coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic Wednesday morning. IFR, Arctic coast, except the east side there, marginal VFR into the north slope. Central western Brooks Range and southward, we've got a good zone of VFR all the way down into northern Cook Inlet to just south of Kenai, picking up some marginal VFR, and then IFR, Kamishak Bay, all of Bristol Bay, and along the southwest coast, all the way up into the Bering Strait to Shishmaref and St. Matthew Island. Pervolov's, marginal, all the Aleutians. Western Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR, IFR right along the southeast coast, and then inland across Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, Yakutat, right up to about Prince William Sound, zone of IFR across Copper River Basin into the eastern interior. And for the afternoon, that area becomes, there we go, lifts a little bit, well, improvement, marginal VFR, Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, all of south central Alaska, all of southern Alaska, marginal with IFR, southern Cook Inlet, across the central southern Kuskokwim Valley, all of the southwest coast, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, and IFR, eastern North Gulf Coast, across much of the Panhandle, marginal VFR on the south coast, all of Prince of Wales Island, improving out over the Aleutians, some VFR showing up around AKwx, otherwise marginal. And the North Slope Arctic Coast, marginal VFR with IFR over toward Barter Island, Kaktovik. And for the morning Thursday, more widespread IFR, North Slope, Eastern and Central Arctic Coast, with some of that slipping south of the mountains into the Yukon Flats and then on down the Yukon River to Eagle, with marginal VFR south of there, IFR, North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, across the western Alaska Range, Kuskokwim Valley, Kuskokwim Mountains, out to the lower Yukon River Valley and most of the Kuskokwim Delta. Little band of IFR there just exiting the Pribilof, staying north of Fox Islands, another zone of IFR, St. Lawrence Island, and some IFR lingering, Lynn Canal Glacier Bay and over toward the eastern border of the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, that kind of becomes more widespread again for the Panhandle, mostly IFR, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet, Manuska Valley, southern Copper River Basin, all IFR, and some IFR in the interior, more widespread IFR north slope out to the Arctic coast, northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, St. Matthew Island, IFR is a band of IFR across the Alaska Peninsula, but not too bad. AKwx and ATKwx becoming VFR, marginal for the Fox Islands and Pribilofs. And for passes Anatuvik, occasional marginal VFR at times throughout the day tomorrow. Same forecast for Adigan, occasionally marginal VFR at other times. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR turning toward IFR in the afternoon with increasing moisture. Rainy VFR becoming marginal. And windy, same pattern. VFR becomes marginal VFR into the afternoon, latter part of the afternoon. Isabel, IFR to marginal VFR. And then for Mentasta, any IFR will probably be north of the range there, otherwise marginal. And for Chilkoot and White, or let's see, Tanita, marginal. Jumping the gun there. Portage, marginal. Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels at the surface, almost to the Bering Strait, 2,000 feet there across Bristol Bay, but down to Atka Island, hugging the North Gulf Coast, cutting across Lynn Canal Glacier Bay. Icing, areas of considerable moderate, possible again. Tomorrow of mixed icing or Reimer mixed icing for the Panhandle. Lighter amounts of mixed icing possible. Kodiak Island there in the shaded areas over the southwest interior. Next band spreading some icing threats into the Shimia 2 area. And the jet stream, west-northwest, 120 knots or so on average, cutting across the western Aleutians, but south of the area, now you can see the 130 to 140 knot jet cutting in across and just south of the Queen Charlotte Island. So light winds aloft over at this elevation at 30,000, 33,000 feet over mainland Alaska. 9,000 feet, 35 to 50 knot winds, southeast Bering, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, 35 or so into the Panhandle, stronger 75 knot winds over the far western Aleutians, and at 9,000 or 3,000 feet, General trough of low pressure over the interior. So on the north side, Arctic coast, we got easterlies 25 to 30 knots. Turn northerly at about 20 knots through the northern Bering Sea, but pick up to 40 to 45 knots across the Alaska Peninsula. 50 knot westerlies, western Aleutians, and 40 knot west-southwest just off the southeast coast. So look for some moderate chop, northern Panhandle, southwest Kodiak Island, the Alaska Peninsula. Considerable moderate chop below 6,000 feet or so, especially for small aircraft, and western Arctic coast as well as the western Aleutians.
On March 11, 2011, a powerful tsunami hit Japan, destroying cities and villages. As the water receded back into the ocean, it pulled what remained of buildings, cars, boats, and homes along with it. Scrap metals, plastics, and objects of all shapes and sizes either sank near the shore or floated away. In the days that followed, large masses of floating debris could easily be seen by satellite imagery and aerial photos. In the wake of this disaster, NOAA is assessing the potential impact that the debris may have on U.S. shores. So, where will this debris go, and when will it get there? To help answer those questions, scientists are using computer models to estimate the debris' path, using its starting location in the tsunami zone and historical weather and ocean conditions. The findings are that some debris could pass near or wash ashore in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands as early as this winter. Debris may also approach the west coast of the United States in 2013 and potentially circle back to the main Hawaiian Islands in 2014. But scientists caution that there are limitations to what computer models can tell us, now that the debris has moved out of satellite view, and with currents and winds in the Pacific constantly changing, there is no guarantee that the debris will stay on the predicted path. Items will sink along the way, or break up and disperse in many directions. Despite these unknowns, NOAA and its partners are collecting data, assessing possible impacts, and making preparations in case debris does wash ashore. The 2011 tsunami in Japan reminds us that the devastation that happens on land can also become a marine debris issue at sea.
Imagine all of this underwater. In a major tsunami, it could happen. In this part of Washington state, it's happened before, hundreds of years ago. Sometime in the future, it will likely happen again. But we can be ready. If a tsunami strikes, this school will provide a place for people to ride it out above the waves.
We're in Westport, Washington, and right behind me is the very first tsunami vertical evacuation center in the United States.
This is an emergency. Please walk to the nearest exit.
Let's go.
Go to the stair tower and proceed up the stairs.
Tsunamis are a potential hazard for low-lying coastal areas. That's why many coastal communities have plans in place to get people to safety, high ground or inland, where they can be beyond the reach of a tsunami. Often there are signs showing where to go and where to gather. Most tsunamis are caused by underwater earthquakes along subduction zones, where two of Earth's plates collide and one is forced under the other. Westport and other Pacific Northwest coastal communities are especially at risk because one of these zones lies just offshore. It's called the Cascadia Subduction Zone. An earthquake here caused a tsunami in 1700 that flooded shores as far away as Japan. Experts say it's just a matter of time before it happens again. Since the subduction zone is so close, a tsunami like the one in 1700 could strike before people in some low-lying areas could get to high ground or inland. And Westport doesn't have a lot of high ground or easy routes inland.
If we get an earthquake or a tsunami, we're going to get a lot of water in the area really quickly, and we needed a place to go. So our community built this brand new school, and above our gym and cafeteria, we have a roof. And so the idea is that we'll get all of our students up, and anybody from the community who needs to get up, they can get up there as well.
Ocosta Elementary School might seem like a normal school, but look more closely. It's engineered to withstand monster waves. Tsunami vertical evacuation shelters must be able to resist the powerful forces that a tsunami brings. Hydrodynamic, buoyant, hydrostatic, and debris impact forces and strong currents. They're also designed to help people get to safety quickly.
There are 4 big staircases on each corner of the building, and each one of those staircases is 8 feet wide, and we can get the whole school evacuated in about 4.5 minutes.
Everybody should be at a 0.
On the roof of the building, there is water and food and buckets and shelters and tarps and blankets and different things so that we can be up there for 2, 3, maybe 4 days while we wait for rescue.
You can go to the top and you know you'll be safe. It feels really nice to have a special building because you feel protected.
This community decided that a tsunami evacuation center was important because they didn't have anywhere to go, and they decided to use their money to build the building. The additional cost is anywhere between 10 and 20% of the actual building cost itself, and that's really a sound investment for a lot of protection. You may be there a while, but you're safe and you're secure, and that's the most important thing.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis, actually looking back at October 9th, a few days ago, and then comparing it to today's, which the next frame here shows a jog to the south of the overall ice field with new ice forming along the ice edge itself or in the ice, and then coming southward there with kind of an expanding area of shorefast ice, or not actually shorefast, but new ice along the central and eastern Arctic coast, and about stationary or not much change on the western Arctic coast. But you can definitely see between the two frames here an expansion southward, and that'll probably continue for the next 5 to 7 days. And from there, going to coastal water forecast, small craft advisories along the coast of the Panhandle, southwest winds 25 knots, seas 14 feet, small craft advisories over the inner channels. In the case of Clarence Strait, 30 knots from the south, 25 knots from the southeast, Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, and Stevens Passage. Seas running 4 to 5 feet there, but up to 12 feet in Clarence Strait. And for the day on Thursday, Clarence Strait, south winds 30 knots and 25 knots southerlies, Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, southeast at 20 for Stevens Passage, and northwest winds up to 30 knots there on the south coast, and north coast west-northwest at 20 with 12 to 14-foot seas. Cook Inlet, northeast winds tomorrow, 10 knots, seas 2 feet. North at 10 for Prince William Sound. Light variable winds for the western North Gulf Coast, looking at 10 knots, but seas at about 8 feet. 9-foot seas with a northeast wind at 20 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And Kamishak Bay, northwest winds at 20. Barren Islands, west at 15. And then for Thursday, variable winds. Northern Cook Inlet, 10 knots or less. Northwest at 15, south of the Forelands, and Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, small craft advisories, west winds 30 knots, seas around 10 feet. Small craft advisories also for the western North Gulf Coast, northwesterlies at 25, southwest 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, variable to north at 10 knots, seas 2 feet or less. Small craft advisories, Kodiak Island, west winds up to 30 knots, seas up to 14 feet. Small craft advisories also for Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula for northwest winds at 30 knots and westerlies 30 to 35 knots from Cape Sarachev to Sitkinak out of the west, seas up to about 17 feet. And for Thursday, look for gales for the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape. Otherwise, Castle Cape up the east side of Kodiak Island, west winds at 30 knots, west 25 for Shelikof Strait, northwesterlies at 25 for Bristol Bay, northwest 30 for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. And for the western Aleutians tomorrow, west winds 30 knots, Adak and Atka west 20 to 25 knots, and Unalaska Island northwesterlies at 25 knots, Unmak Island west-northwest at 20. Outlook for Thursday. Gale warnings for the eastern Aleutians, west winds 35 to 40 knots, about the same for Adak and Atka, west winds at 35 knots, seas around 15 feet. Small craft advisories, Amchitka, Kiska, and Shimia for west to southwesterlies, 25 to 30 knots, 10 to 12-foot seas. Southwest coast tomorrow, northwest winds 30 knots, seas 10 to 12 feet, north 25, St. Lawrence Island, 8-foot seas. West winds 30 knots for the Pribilof with 12-foot seas, and St. Matthew Island looking at northwest winds at 25 knots. Light northeast breeze for Norton Sound. And same thing on Thursday, Norton Sound northeast at 10. Small craft advisory, St. Lawrence Island north 25. Small crafts continue for the southwest coast at 25 knots from the northwest, 10-foot seas. West winds 30 knots for the Pribilof and northwest 25 for St. Matthew Island. Up along the Arctic coast, still a breezy day tomorrow, much like today. Maybe not quite as windy as you saw on the east side there, but small craft advisories continue all along the coastline for east and northeast winds 25 to 30 knots all the way down to Cape Thompson, actually all the way to Wales. And then the outlook for Thursday, same thing, small craft advisories, the entire stretch of the coastline, all wind speeds at 25 knots, mostly east or east-northeast in the direction, seas running 6 to 8 feet. For tonight, southwest flow keeps a wet weather pattern, wet and windy continuing there for the panhandle, but not quite as high on the winds as what you saw with the last system, and the rain probably a little lighter. Snow changes, snow showers diminishes with the snow advisory ending over the eastern interior areas, but winds will diminish along the eastern Arctic coast, and after midnight winter weather advisory ends there. And for the day tomorrow, another system, wet, windy conditions for the panhandle, light snow on the Arctic coast, dry in the interior. Next weaker system enters the western Bering Sea, pushing eastward, drops southeastward, low pressure just north of the Alaska Peninsula with pretty strong northwest winds behind that over the eastern Aleutians and Pribilofs and western Alaska Peninsula. More rain in store for the panhandle. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.